Hey kids, Mr. Fly here, hope you're well, and welcome to another bike news, this time for August 2022, another month that's absolutely flown by. Starting to feel a little bit like autumn here now, a little bit of rain creeping on. Could that be the end of the bike season? Well, let's not get depressed because we've got a whole bike news to get through. So stick around, stay tuned. Got 4 papers with MCN. Let's see what's been going on in the world of motorcycles here in the UK for the month of August 2022. And don't forget, as ever, towards the end of this review, I'll be doing my Parish Notices, telling you a bit of news about what's happening on the channel in the next month or two, making a few little changes that I want to let you know about. But before that, let's go through the news. It's been a busy old month. All right, first paper then, first story. MCN vids hit 300k. I just wanted to say congratulations to MCN, who also have a YouTube channel, as well as producing this fine newspaper that I read from every month. And they have now hit 300,000 subscribers, which is absolutely incredible. I know how much work goes into running a YouTube channel, of course, and to get to 300,000 takes a lot of doing. So well done the guys there. So fantastic. If you haven't checked it out, do go and have a look at it. One of the most popular viewed videos actually is Alan Millard's Viper V10. My old mate Alan Millard. I think that's had 5.6 million views. That's had incredible. So go and have a look at that. Check out MCN's YouTube video channel and yeah, bump their numbers up a bit more if you can. So congratulations to those guys for doing that alongside the paper. No mean feat. All right, so the first story here, Budget Blaster. Just how affordable is Triumph's Target Sport 660s to buy and own? This is quite a clever review that MCN have done, a little bit different to normal. They've actually looked at kind of cost of ownership. Let's see what they worked out. So, well, headline here is, it'll cost you 79p per mile. So it's very clever. What they've done is they've factored in purchase costs, they've factored in fuel, insurance, tax, servicing, and they've assumed you bought it on PCP, I think. And then it works out of that. So let me read you what it says here. Taking all the factors we have looked into account, running a Targa Sport 660 that covers 4,000 miles a year will cost you a total of 3,184.22 a year, provided you don't crash it. Good point. Which works out as 79.6p a mile all in, which sounds not bad, doesn't it? But of course, doesn't mean much unless you can compare it to other bikes. So I don't know if MCN are going to do this for other bikes, but it strikes me as a good idea. Maybe come up with a table on kind of cost of ownership. Well, of course, if it is based on PCP, then that can complicate things as well, because those rates vary, of course. But also, I'm not a fan of PCP, but don't get me started. I'm all for saving up and then buying. But anyway, that's just me. Also, just one other thing, they looked at the UK's annual average wage according to the Office of National Surveys, which is apparently £32,000. So that means that running the Tiger is roughly 10% of your annual income if you're on an average wage. So that's quite interesting. Okay, next story in this first paper. Gearing up for the future, Horwin CR6-Pro mixes battery power with traditional clutch and gears. Now, I wonder what you thought of this. This is interesting. So this is an electric bike, and again, you know, mixed views on that. But they've decided, Horwin, that it's a good idea to have a clutch and a gearbox to give you some of that old school feel. Maybe it's sort of something, a transitionary thing. Personally, I think it's a bit of a balmy idea. I think part of the joy of electric is this, you've got that wave of torque that just keeps on giving. But anyway, let's just read what it says here. So this is the world's first full production electric with a manual gearbox and clutch. It's the equivalent of a 125cc. For a tiddler, the CR6-Pro has impressive acceleration, pulls up hills better than a typical 125, and nudges to 68 miles per hour. So this is not going to be, you know, a super fast bike. It's aimed at the 125 type market. So yeah, but it has a gearbox and a clutch. What do you make of that? Be very interested in your comments below. I suppose it's, I don't know, would it help you learn to ride an ice bike? Is there any point in learning to ride an ice bike if you've got an electric one? Don't know. So not too sure about that. I quite like the look of the Horwin CR6-Pro, but I don't kind of get the logic of mixing up a manual gearbox and clutch. So yeah, interesting one that, but quite a nice looking bike though. All right, that's it for the first paper. Whiz through that one. Next up, massive story this for Triumph fans like me, a very bonny baby Triumph. Now MCN have spotted a new baby Triumph in the making. Let me read you what it says here. Exclusive spy shots reveal Triumph's all-new family of UK developed sub 500cc bikes is close to launch. This is the first fruit of the marriage between Triumph's UK's R&D division and Indian manufacturing giant Bajaj. Do you remember they signed that deal? Seems like years ago. It's probably 3 or 4 years ago now, to do jointly develop smaller capacity bikes. This seems to be the first fruit of it. This new family of single-cylinder models will be the firm's lowest capacity and cost. The new family is expected to comprise a street, roadster and a scrambler. It's clear that whilst these bikes will be Triumph's lowest cost bikes, they're not going to be cheap. They've got alloy rims, for example, inverted chunky forks, all LED lighting, intricate stitched seats and so on. So they're saying that it looks like a quality item. There's no parts that look obviously budget, it says here. The new models are expected to be unveiled in 2023, with motorcycles arriving in dealers soon after their public reveal. Buyers holding out for a Royal Enfield price rival to the Hunter or Himalayan are likely to be disappointed. It's the key bit. Closer likely rivals would be BMW's G310S and KTM's 390S, putting the bigger capacity models in the 5 to 5,500 ballpark. So they're expecting a bike that looks like this, a little Triumph, to be about 5,500. Still seems like a pretty good price to me. I like the looks of it, so cannot wait to see that out and about. They've spied a Scrambler as well. It says here there's a Scrambler Model 2. The main bike pictured here was bimbling around the Midlands on its own, but we know that Triumph and Bajaj are also, or Baja, are also working on a Scrambler version because it's been captured. They captured the bike testing it in Spain back in February, so they've seen both out and about. But yeah, it looks a cute little bike. Might be the ideal first big bike, or depending on the power output, might be something you can actually take your A-class licence on, not sure. Anyway, looks nice. The headlight looks cracking, as does the headlight bracket. As MCN said, it doesn't look like they've skimped on this and made it into a really budget bike. So looking forward to seeing that. Don't know if it's going to hit our market as well. Presumably it's aimed at the Asian market, but hopefully they'll see fit in the centre here as well, because I think those bikes actually would do pretty well here. Get interested in your views. Right, new Ducatis. Ducatis have had an amazing year. Sold loads of bikes this year, and as a result are going to bring out lots of new bikes. So here we go. Ducati are aiming to go from boom to bigger boom with the announcement of record revenues and plans for 7 2023 model unveilings starting next month, so September now. Although the exact nature of the bikes is secret, MCN expects a new Scrambler, a more off-road multi-strada, is that possible? A Desert X or Desert Cross, a new track-oriented Sportster, and perhaps even Ducati's first electric bike. And apparently, I think they're going to reveal them over the next month on sort of live broadcast. I think there might be one, actually was one yesterday on Friday. So you may know by the time you see this what the first bike is, and I think they're going to reveal them over the course of the month. So we're going to be interested to see what Ducati have got. So great news that Ducati have had a good year, and we're going to see some new models from them. Next story here, another good news story. Maeving delivers. Now this is the Maeving electric bike. This is a bike that I saw at the Bike Shed show back in, when was that now? May, June time. And I thought it looked brilliant. And in fact, I've been talking to the Maeving guys, and I'm going to be borrowing one of these in a few months' time. Probably in the winter, actually, but it'll give it a proper test. I just think it looks great. It looks sort of retro, but sort of modern at the same time, and it's British built. I love it. The good news is they've actually started to churn these out and sell them. Now, let me read you what it says here. So, small capacity urban electric firm Maeving have now delivered around 100 of their RM1 motorcycles to customers across the UK, having only launched their website publicly at the beginning of November. That's amazing. The RM1 starts at 4,995 and is capable of a claimed 45 miles an hour and has a range of 80 miles. So it's cheap to buy. Okay, it's not fast and it doesn't have a massive range. It's clearly aimed at the urban customer. If you live in London or a big city, getting around on one of these would do fine with an 80-mile range, and you don't need to go more than 45 in the town anyway. So this isn't a touring bike. It's not a replacement for a motorcycle that you and I enthusiasts might ride, but it is a practical form of transport. And I think it looks great. The question in my mind is, at that sort of price and that sort of size and power output, where does the crossover come between powered bicycles and motorcycles? Perhaps you know. I don't know where the legislation is, because of course if you buy a powered bicycle you don't have to have insurance, you don't have to have a number plate on the back, you don't have it taxed, anything like that, whereas of course this one you do have to do those things. So interesting. I don't know where that dividing line is. There must be a weight or a power output or something, because the Maeving looks quite lightweight. It looks almost bicycle-like, doesn't it, which is the appeal to me and why I'm very keen to have a go. I think it's going to be a right hoot, so cannot wait to have a go on a Maeving in a couple of months. So yeah, interested in your views on that as well, whether that would appeal to you if you were in the urban environment. All right, next up, Kawasaki plug into the future. Now, we often get these stories, don't we? And it seems to always be Kawasaki that are the ones that are doing this sort of stuff when you're looking at hydrogen fuels, electric bikes, all that sort of thing. Kawasaki always seem to be at the head of this. So let's see what this says. Company make good on pledge to launch fun new electric range. Filings published on the website of the National Highways Traffic Safety Administration in the USA show Kawasaki will have 2 electric bikes for 2023, codenamed the NX011AP and the NR011AP. They trip off the tongue, I'm sure they've changed the model names. The new models show that they each make 15 horsepower, which means they'll be L-plate legal in Europe. So again, low capacity bikes these are looking at aiming at the learner market. I wonder why that's more attractive for electrics. They all seem to be going that way at the moment. With a rated 14.8 bhp, the production Kawasaki's are likely to manage an absolute maximum of around 30 HP. This is because the way that they measure internal combustion engines outputs versus electric, I think they take an average. So of course electric bikes always deliver all the time, whereas internal combustion engines build to a peak and then drop off again. So in fact, the performance of the electric bike is more on a par with a 300cc single, while still remaining learner legal within that sort of averaged out power band. So that's amazing. All will be revealed in full later this year, most likely at November's EICMA show in Milan. So yeah, again, look forward to seeing those. This bike here, which looks way bigger than a 125, it's an electric bike as well, in the same story. So I'm not sure if this is claiming to be the 15 horsepower models. If it is, it looks pretty sporty, but it says here there's a conventional clutch lever, adding familiarity with riders who've grown up around combustion engines and giving a level of control missing on direct drive electrics. So similar to that last bike we looked at, got a clutch. Don't know if that's useful or not. 4-speed transmission developed as part of Kawasaki's rideology philosophy intends to make electric bikes more appealing to seasoned riders. I don't get that. Again, putting a clutch and a gearbox on a bike doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, more electric bikes coming, whether you like it or not, so it seems. Let's make sure we get to like it, or buy all the internal combustion engine bikes now you can, because they're the ones you're going to want to keep into the future. I'm certainly keeping hold of mine. Right, next story. Keeping it real. Can these 5 affordable A2 adventurers prove that you don't need to blow a 5-figure budget to enjoy a brand new go anywhere bike? I think we can already guess the answer to that one, and the answer of course is yes. So they've looked here at the Honda CB500X, a bike I absolutely love and I think is a bargain and a fun ride. A KTM 390 Adventure, also a great bike. Royal Enfield Himalayan, I'm not so keen on the Himalayan, the standard one. I like the 411 Scrambler based on it, but not so much Himalayan. BMW G310GS, fine bike, didn't like the fire, and the Benelli TRK 502X, which I haven't actually ridden. So out of that lot, I would go Honda first, KTM 390 Adventure second would be my order of preference. But of course, to be fair, the Honda is quite a bit more expensive than the others. That comes in at 6,700, whereas the Enfield is 4,699, and the others fit in between. So there's a bit of a range of prices there, which you have to take into account. Anyway, let's see what they came up with. Size doesn't matter, surprise, surprise. The KTM is a sporty adventure bike, but lacking in comfort. The BMW GS is light and agile, but lacking in substance. The Himalayan has a certain honest charm, which leaves the Benelli and Honda. The Honda, while physically smaller, was more manoeuvrable than the Benelli, but not as comfy over distance. Opinions were split on which was best, largely just based on rider height. That's interesting. Although the close price difference and Honda dealer support and residual values are likely to come into play too. Yeah, there are Honda dealers all over the place. Residual values are always good on Honda. Honda have a reputation of being reliable, don't they? Which you could argue, well, Benelli's a bit of an unknown cause, isn't it, in its current form? So we'll see. But I must say, I do like the look of the Benelli. It looks a cracking bike. But for me, I think I'll probably go for the Honda, just because having ridden it, I know it's a great bike and it's still good value, even at 6.5 grand. So yeah, so they looks like they basically agree with me to a degree. So that's excellent. First story here. MotoMourini's 2 6.5s do add up. Now this is the bike from Motomorini that's actually called the 6.5. There's an Italian word for it which we might get to, which sounds much better than 6.5. But anyway, it looks a cracking bike, and they're expecting it to cost around 6,250. Let me tell you what it says here. The Motomorini revival has taken its next step with the unveiling this week of not one but two all-new 650 twins from the classic brand, called the Cimeccio. Anyway, it means 6.5 in Italian. Cimeccio sounds much better than 6.5, doesn't it? The new bikes were first teased at the EICMA show last November. The two new Cimeccios are based, I don't know why you have to say Cimeccio like that, but you do. They're based on the same 649cc liquid cooled parallel twin double overhead cam, engine, tubular steel diamond frame, blah blah. There's a 6.5 SCR, or a Cimeccio SCR, which is a scrambler. It's got black anodized alloy rimmed wire spoke wheels and knobbly tyres, brown rib saddle and side number boards and trail type handlebars. And then there's a 6.5 STR, which is the street model, which has cast alloy wheels, conventional low front mudguard, narrower bars, and so on. Both have KYB multi-adjustable 43mm upside down forks, rear monoshock twin discs, twin piston Brembo brakes, Bosch fuel injection ABS, so these aren't skimping again on the cycle parts. These are quality machines by the sounds of it. 5-inch colour TFT with Bluetooth connectivity and even backlit switchgear. Expect something around 6,250. I have to say, this main picture of the, which I guess is the STR, Simetsu STR, lovely looking machine. Would love to have a go. I don't know where MotoMourinis are, where the dealers are, to be fair. I've never ridden one, but I would like a go on that. It looks like a nice bike. So yeah, thumbs up for that one, and what a great price as well. Let's hope that gets some more riders into biking. Right, this is a bit of a shocker story. Speed limits cut to 20 miles an hour on rural roads in new pilot. This is just something we don't need, isn't it, I think? Rural roads with a 60 mile an hour national speed limit are to be restricted to just 30 and even 20 under a new pilot. Now, that is a radical difference, isn't it? Going from 60 to 50, maybe. But 60 to 30 or 20, that's just going to feel wrong. Surrey County Council has announced plans to trial the new speed limits on roads previously restricted to 60 over an area covering 80 square miles south of Guildford and Dorking. It's not yet been revealed when the scheme will begin or how long it will run for. So if you live around the Guildford-Dorking area, and there's some lovely roads around there, then I'm afraid you're going to come across roads that used to be 60 and you used to enjoy doing the twisties on, and now are going to be 30 or even 20 miles an hour. Let's hope that this trial bears no fruit and we don't see that go across the country, because that's outrageous. I mean, I'm all for safety, of course, but out on country roads, you know, that's where you can have a bit of fun. Now, I know the stats show that actually country roads are the most dangerous roads, the most safe ones being motorways. So that's probably why this initiative is going. It doesn't say that here, but I imagine that's why they're doing it. But it just feels wrong, doesn't it? So interested in your views. Do you think safety trumps fun? Or do you think out in the countryside, where there's no one else around, if there's a 60 mile an hour limit road, we should leave it as a 60? Interested in your comments in the comments below, as they say. Right, CanAm. Remember CanAm, the people that make the three-wheelers from Canada? It looks like they're back in the two-wheel market, although this time looks like they're electric bikes. I think they look quite cool in a funny sort of way. Well, one of them does. The other one looks a bit Dakar-esque for me, which I always don't like. But anyway, let's see what it says here. CanAm are preparing to blast back into the two-wheeled world with a pair of electric offerings. The Pulse Roadster and Origin adventure bike are coming in mid-2024 into production. So yeah, so it's the adventure bike called the Origin, which I'm not so keen on the looks of, but it's not too bad. I think I could learn to love it. And then the Pulse is the Roadster. They just look modern. I quite like what they've done. The timing is set to coincide with CanAm's 50th anniversary. The Origin and Pulse both share a common motor made by Rotax. That's a good thing as far as I'm concerned. The motor is likely to be related to Rotax's existing E20 powertrain, which is a liquid-cooled 24 kilowatt or 32 brake horsepower equivalent motor. So again, they ain't going to be neck-snappingly fast, these, but as practical, city transport, these could be a winner. So yeah, so when we're looking at these, mid-2024 we might see these. So suddenly maybe CanAm will be back in with a shout in the two-wheel world again. Let's hope so. It's always good to see new manufacturers coming into the market or coming back into the market. Right, here's a bike I'm interested in. This looks really, really nice, actually. It's a new bike from Royal Enfield. It's called the Hunter, and it's along a similar veins too, in that it's got the same engine as the Classic that they announced earlier in the year. And what was the other one? There was another bike, wasn't there, that had it, but I can't remember. I'm sure it says here. Let me read you what it says here. Enfield's new Hunter 350 is simple, yet oh so effective and a potent urban traffic buster. Take a look at the new Hunter 350, Enfield's frugal and easy to ride new commuter. It's light, tough, agile, with faultless fueling and a turning circle tighter than a government U-turn. Like it. The Hunter is propelled by the same unassuming 349cc air-cooled single found in the Classic, that's the one I said, and Meteor, that was the one I couldn't remember. The chassis is all new at 181 kilograms. The Hunter is considerably lighter than its 350 siblings. That's good, 172 kilograms dry. Still quite heavy for a single though, I think. It's a bum basic 20 brake horsepower commuter. Bum basic, I like that. There are no riding modes or ride rays to worry about, and the fueling is soft and precise. The gearbox is positive. New riders will love its low seat height, easygoing road manners, and claimed 80 miles per gallon economy. Now, in these times of, cost of living crisis and all that, and trying to find more frugal transport, this could be your answer. Even though it's only a 350, going by the engines in the Meteor and the Classic, both of which I rode, it's a fantastic engine, this. It doesn't feel low power. It's a great little bike or engine, and I'm sure in this format it'll be even better, because for me, particularly in this blue scheme with the Royal Enfield writing on it, I think it looks an absolute corker. And this is probably where that new Triumph is going to have to compete as well, and the Enfield will probably be way cheaper, I don't know, but I'll be interested to see what price it comes out at. Does it say here? Don't think it does. No, price still TBC, but I imagine it ain't going to be a lot of money. This is going to be cheap, good transport. Let's just hope the quality of it is good. Like the Classic is great quality, Enfield, as is the Meteor, but the Scram 411 I felt was a step backwards. So let's hope they've maintained the good quality that we've come now to expect from Royal Enfield. Brilliant, great. So yeah, like the look of that. Look forward to having a go on that as soon as possible, Royal Enfield, if you're listening. Baby Hesketh on the way. All new 450cc Roadster set for official launch next month. Hesketh, a bike name that's been around for years, of course. They've always made very specialised, very expensive bikes in the past. It looks like they're going to be doing something a little bit different with this. These are the first images of Hesketh's all new 450cc single-cylinder Roadster. Another small capacity bike. This is great news. Well, I've been asking for smaller capacity bikes for ages, and it sounds like there's going to be a whole tranche of them coming out in the next couple of years. This is set for its official unveiling next month, going up against other British-built small volume concerns such as the Langan two-stroke and single-cylinder CCM Spitfire range. It could see Hesketh return to significant production. Now, when it puts it up against the Langan and the Spitfire, it makes me suddenly think that maybe this isn't going to compete with the likes of the Triumph and the Royal Enfield, but this is going to be in a league above. Heskeths have always been expensive, haven't they? And it sounds like this is going to be an expensive bike too. Let's see. It's based around an updated, enlarged, fuel-injected version of Honda's XR400 Enduro twin-exhaust port single, which is a bit of a shame, I think. I've criticised in the past, particularly CCM, for using engines out of Enduros that makes them very, very thumpy. Now, you can get singles that are nice and smooth. Again, back to the examples of those Royal Enfield singles that have just come out. Those engines are really smooth. But I find that some of these Enduro-based engines are so thumpy, it just takes the fun away. Certainly, I found that on the CCM that I rode. Don't know about this, I've not ridden the Honda, so who knows, maybe it's smoother, but just a little word of, or a little flag goes up in my mind on this one. Lovely looking thing though. So Hesketh say, we're trying to pitch it in a place where people might be able to afford a Hesketh. Good plan, Hesketh. The retail for this bike, hopefully, by the time we've added the dealer margin, is about 14 grand. So, yeah, so it's nowhere near as expensive as previous Heskeths that were all sort of superbike category and in the 30 grand plus. So, yeah, suddenly 14 grand does sound a bit more like it to own a bit of exclusivity. But would you pay 14 grand for a single cylinder 400cc bike? I'm not sure I would. I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing what the unveil has, and we'll see. I mean, it looks like it's got a trellis type frame. Paintwork looks amazing. It's gonna be a rare bike, I imagine. And if you own one of these, you're going to feel good when you go down the bike meet, because it's going to be something that people are going to look at. So yeah, I like the look of it. Not sure about the price. We'll see how that one does. I think CCM's normally around about 10 and a half, aren't they? Which seems a much better sort of price point. Right, moving on then. Bike of the year. This comes around once a year, and sometimes I agree with MCN, sometimes I don't. I've already blown it by opening this page. But the MCN Bike of the Year for 2022 is the Triumph Tiger Sport 660. And I have to say, for once, I absolutely wholeheartedly agree with them. It's a fantastic motorcycle, this. What they said was, it's basically a Trident 660 with a big tank, top fairing, tall screen and high bars. It punches way above its weight and appeals to all kinds of riders, regardless of size, age or experience. I completely agree. You'd be hard pushed to find a new bike this good for over 10 grand, let alone the very reasonable £8,745 that they asked for it. It's 660cc, 3-cylinder street triple base engine is a gem of a thing. I completely agree with all that. I rode this one a few months back. I'll put a link in the corner. Go and check my video out of my reviews of this. I absolutely loved it. Again, it's not the fastest bike on the planet, but on the road with a 660cc triple, it's way fast enough. Believe you me, you can have a lot of fun on this thing. It's agile. You can chuck it around the corners. It's got that brilliant sound of the triple that I miss from my old street triple. It sounds a bit like that. Plus, it's got the practicality of a bit of a fairing. It looks quite nice as well, I think. Plus, it's a do-it-all. You can go touring on it. You can ride it as a commuter. You can carry stuff. I mean, I just think it's a great bike. So well done Triumph for getting Bike of the Year from MCN, and well done MCN for coming up with such a great answer. I'd be really interested in your views below, whether you think that's a worthy winner to Bike of the Year, or whether you would have given it something else. There are a couple more that I've just picked out here that just came to me, because there's all sorts of categories that MCN give Bike of the Year to. So they've given the best naked 1000cc of the year, best naked 1000cc plus, to the MT10, which I do like, or I particularly like the original MT10. I'm not so keen on the looks of the new one, so I differ here. Although I haven't ridden the new MT10, it has to be said. I probably would have gone with the Ducati V4S or Aprilia Tuono. I know they're not new bikes, but then nor is the MT10, although it's new. It's had a bit of a facelift this last year, but I definitely prefer the V4S or the Tuono over the MT10, I think. If you could still get an old, excellent condition MT10 SP, I might prefer that over the others, but I don't think I'd buy this new one over those other bikes. So I disagree with that one. The other ones of interest I pulled out was this here. Best retro of the year. Again, wholeheartedly agree with this. No surprise to you if you've watched my recent videos on the Kawasaki Z900RS. Again, I'll put a link in the corner to the review I did. It's a sort of a re-review. I'd ridden this a few years back, but I rode one more recently, and I did a recent biker scram with Jeff and Dan on it as well. Really gel with the bike. I love this bike. If I had room in the garage, or if I was in the market for a retro now, I would probably buy one of these. The RS version, if you can get hold of it. I understand that there's a new batch of RS versions coming out if you put your order in now. A lot of people wrote to me after my other video saying you just can't buy them anymore because they're all sold out, but they have released another batch for sale. They may already be gone, I don't know, but I think the Z900RS, it looks beautiful. It looks like a proper classic retro. Not only that, it rides beautifully as well. It's got a lovely characterful smooth engine. I just love it. So again, completely agree with MCN on that one. A great win for the Kawasaki Z900RS. Then last but not least, before we get on to Parish Notices, the other one that I wanted to show you here. Oh, actually, it's not Bike of the Year, it's another story. Nevesy has been borrowing the Speed Triple RR as his latest long-term bike. And basically, he doesn't like it, is in a nutshell. Let me tell you what he said here. So, with promise of superbike performance and not so extreme riding position, the Speed Triple 1200 RR should have my name written all over it, but it doesn't, says Nevesy. It sits too upright on its stand on uneven ground. The mirrors aren't great. You need a socket and not a key to remove the rear seat. The dash takes its time to scroll through its functions, and the turn-by-turn sat-nav often has a mind of its own. Well, don't they all? Its lazy geometry suits long, fast sweepers, but the lack of crispness elsewhere makes the front end feel disconnected. The hard seat and clip-ons placed down by your knees slowly torture your bum and wrists after an hour, which spoils just about every ride. For pillions, the hard rear seat, stiff suspension, jar over big bumps. Not selling it to us here, is he? Taller bars would improve things massively, as would a comfier seat, sharper steering and more soul from the engine. Sad as I am to say it, it's the first long-termer I won't miss. Now that's quite a damning indictment, isn't it? But again, I have to agree with MCN and particularly Nevesy here. I rode one of these for a couple of weeks this year. Again, I'll put a link to my summary of the bike. I came to pretty much exactly the same conclusion. It looks nice, but I don't think it's going to be a bike that people buy because it's just so darn uncomfortable, which is such a shame. It's great that for trying something new, but unfortunately, I think it's a miss with this. I imagine, as I said in that video, that the Speed Triple RR is one of those bikes that we're going to see quietly disappear from the range. So actually, if you're interested, snap one up now. It might become a collector's item, and in years to come, we'll all be saying, "Oh, weren't they a great bike?" But actually, I think you're better off with the standard Speed Triple. And interesting that Nevesy's come to that conclusion too. All right, so that's it for the 4 papers this month. Hope that was of interest. Now it's time for... You got it, of course, Parish Notices. Now, somebody once said to me in a comment, why do you call it Paris Notices? I'm not calling it Paris Notices, that's a city in France. I'll call it Parish Notices. That's a little council in England, okay? So Parish Notices, hence the notice boards at the start. Anyway, okay. Right, so I teased last time on Bike News that I was going to make some changes to the channel. And I am indeed, but they're only going to be short term, or, well, sort of short term. They're going to be, it's a bit of a trial I'm doing with them. I'm going to change the flavour of the channel a little bit. Do not fear, all your favourites are still going to be around. I'm going to do the odd biker scram still. There'll be the odd bike review as well, and of course Bike News will stay every month, so don't worry about that. But in the main, my content is no longer going to be focused on bike reviews like it has been throughout the whole COVID thing, because basically we couldn't do much else. And I'm going to do more of the stuff that I actually love motorcycles for. That is travelling, seeing things, doing stuff, looking at bikes, all that kind of stuff. So to that end, in the next month, I'm going to start a brand new tour series. I've been super busy through August. I've had an absolutely epic time with Mrs. Flyer. We've done a 4,000-mile tour from Anchorage in Alaska, all the way down to Portland in Oregon, and loads of places in between. Montana, trying to remember the places now, Washington State, British Columbia, the Yukon. It's just been an incredible, epic month. All that while still running my YouTube channel, by the way. I hope you didn't notice that I'd gone. Anyway, we're back now. We've had a great time. I've got a mountain of editing to do. I've got some of them all ready to go, but they should start to launch around about the end of September. Well, the first one, the 21st of September, you'll see our first episode from Anchorage of that series. I really hope you like them. They're in the similar vein to my tour that I did to the Arctic Circle with Motorrad Tours. This one also is with Motorrad Tours, and I think it's going to be, well, I'm having done a bit of the editing and looked it back and knowing what's coming, I think it's going to be a great series. I hope you enjoy it too. I'm going to run it pretty much one after the other instead of interspersing it with stuff, just to see how that goes, because in the past when I've interspersed tours with other videos, people have said it lost the flow. So I am going to do, I'll run them one after the other. I will do a bike news at the end of the month, and I will do a classic bike review using bikes from my sponsors Superbike Factory. Those are fixed, but for the rest of the time it'll be tour videos. And once the Alaska through Canada one is done, there's another one coming along fairly soon after that as well. And then we'll just see how that went. And if it didn't go well, if you didn't like it, we'll go back to doing something else. But it's good to change the channel up a little bit every now and then, isn't it? Anyway, there's a few bits and pieces in the can already. Let me tell you what's coming up. So the next video, next Wednesday, September the 7th, the Honda NT1100 review. I'm a bit late to the party with this one. Everybody's reviewed it by now, but I thought I'd let the dust settle a bit on it and give you my review of the NT1100. Big touring bike. See if you agree or disagree with my findings on that. Then on the 10th, I've got the Moto Guzzi V7 Stone review, another bike that I have a lot of people ask me when you're going to ride a Moto Guzzi, so this one's for you guys. That's coming on the 10th. I've got an update coming on my new Honda Goldwing. You remember I bought a few months back now, and then I did the little tour to, well, the unexpected tour actually, down to Cornwall on. Thank you for watching those videos. They seem to have gone quite well, by the way, and that's partly why I'm encouraged to do this other tour set. Anyway, I've got an update on Honda Goldwing coming along, sort of a vloggy thing. On the 17th, I've got another classic bike review. Now, this is an incredible thing. This is the Honda DN01, which I didn't even know existed until I saw this bike at Superbike Factory. I saw it and thought, I've got to have a go on this. So that's coming up on the 17th. Stay tuned for that. I think you'll enjoy that one. Then, as I say, on the 21st is the first of that brand new series of myself and Mrs. Fly riding from Anchorage all the way down 4,000 miles, as I say, into Portland, Oregon. Amazing ride at all points in between. You're going to love it. As I say, they'll be interspersed with some classic reviews. On the 1st of October will be the next bike news, and then the 29th of October will be the bike news after that. The 26th of October, there's going to be a Super Blackbird review, but I'll probably tell you more about that in the next bike news. So that's it for what's coming up. Hopefully you're going to enjoy that. So let me know what you think in the comments, and let me know how you want me to change the channel, if you think it's worked or hasn't worked. The other thing I want to remind you of is the ABR Festival. It's on 23rd to the 25th of June next year, 2023. And if you want to get your tickets, I can now offer you a 5% discount. If you use the code TMF5 when you check out, you can get yourself an additional 5%, and this is a 5% additional over and above any other special offers that are on at the time. So any early birds probably finished by now, but you know, other offers that ABR run through the time up to the festival, this gives you an additional 5% as well. So TMF5 for additional 5% at the ABR Festival. It'll be a great do. I cannot wait for it. It's one of my top 2 bike shows in the country. So yeah, look forward to seeing you there. All right, that's it for bike news this time. Hope you've enjoyed that. Look forward to speaking to you again soon. Until then, this has been the Mr. Fly. Cheerio.